What's up, YouTube? It's me, the Artisan MC, and today I'm going to review the Mandalorian episode 4, The Foundling. Now, I just finished watching this episode and I enjoyed this episode. This was the episode directed by Carl Weathers and starring John Favreau in it as well. And what you have is Bo Katan and Den linked up with the covert again and seeing what life is like in the covert. Now, this is interesting to me because I did want to see more Mandalorians on the screen. And seeing that this episode was full of Mandalorians, it was just about them, it kind of made me ease off on last episode where they were only bookends. Okay. You had to see where they were and have them go back to the covert and be part of the covert again so you can get to this episode and see them living in the covert. What you have in this episode is training, day in the life of Mandalorians in the covert. And they're out by the water and they're training and fighting and dueling and sparring each other and just training. And what you have is Din watching Bo Katan walking through the crowd, watching them how they train and fight and stuff like that. And I'm really getting the ideas that Bo Katan, is sizing up the people in the covert to see where they're strong, where they're weak. I really do believe that at some point Bo Katan is going to have to train the covert a little more because would have, I think she would have had a little bit higher level of training, being that she was part of the royal family. So I'm thinking her training might be more extensive than the rest of the people in the covert. But be it as it may, she's just watching right now. Now, the other scene that you get in this is Grogu sitting by the water with all these rocks around him and rocks moving around and stuff. Now, for me, I'm wondering why the hell is Grogu sitting near this water? We just saw beginning of this season that turtle croc or whatever the heck it is, a rocket turtle, lives in the water. I wouldn't have anything close to the water at all. I wouldn't. It would still be a carcass sitting out there, that creature, before I'd be putting anything small down near by the water side. I'm just saying. But it's an interesting scene to where Grogu is sitting there and the rocks are moving, and it looks like Grogu is screwing around with the Force while he's sitting out there in front of the rest of these Mandalorians. Now, at one point, Grogu grabs one of the rocks and picks it up, and you see it's a little crab. It's like a little hermit crab or something like that. And which made me laugh. It made me laugh a little bit because I did think he was moving a rock. Apparently, he was not. The rock was moving itself. Now, at this point, you get Din walking up on him and telling him, hey, you know, stop playing. You need to do this. And then picks him up and takes him over to where young foundlings are sparring and sets him down and tell him, you will have to learn how to do this. You have to start. Now, what he means is that Din puts Grogu in to spar with a young child, a challenger. And this is the child that was in the first episode who had just recently took the creed, put on his helmet, took the creed, and now he is out training with the other little foundlings. This part to me seems rushed because I don't think, for me, Grogu should be in there fighting with these kids at this point. One, because there's a size differential, right, of at least fucking 5 feet, okay? This kid is a lot taller than Grogu sitting in his potato sack on the sand. Now, the other thing is Grogu has had more training than these kids have in what Grogu knows how to do, which is using the Force, which makes it kind of an unfair advantage to me against this kid, especially if you think you're about to go hand to hand or something like that with him, like the kid was doing with the other kid that was there. But be that as it may, Din is still pushing Grogu that this is the Mandalorian way. You got to try to do this. So he stands in there and allows the challenger to pick what weapons they use. Like, I'm thinking, weapons? What the hell? Is he about to use a baseball bat or a golf club and hit this little green thing all over the place? Knock a single bogey out of the sand trap? What the hell? No. The kid picks darts. And so one of the other Mandalorians goes and gets to practice darts. And while Den is watching, Bo-Katan straps the practice darts to Grogu's arm and tells him, you got this. Show him what you got, right? And what happens is, in a Karate Kid fashion, first to 3 points wins. And they're just going to shoot each other with these darts in whatever fashion. They shoot them all at once or one at a time. It doesn't matter. They just have to make three hits, and they're the winner. Now, how it starts is pretty cool. The other kid shoots Grogu right off the bat. And Grogu stops and looks at Den. And Den tells him, don't look at him. Look at the other guy, right? Now, the next time they go, the kid shoots Grogu again, right in the potato sack. So he got 2 green spots right on his potato sack because the darts shoot like paintballs, right? And Grogu was really looking like, what the heck? And then encourages him, show what you got. I know what you can do. Do it. Gives him a little encouragement, right? Sure enough, when the word is given this time for them to go at each other, Grogu uses a force leap and jumps over the kid onto his backside, and then jumps over the kid again into the front, and then shoots him in the chest with all 3 darts at the same time. Grogu wins. Now, this is a little silly, but it was like, yeah, probably would have been cooler if you got him 3 times on the way up, or 2 times on the way up, and then 1 time, in the front when you came back over. But he got 3 shots off all at once. But it's not a terrible thing. The kid walks off sad, but Den is praising Grogu that he did a good job. And although Paz Vizsla and the Armorer were watching this match, they mentioned that, Grogu could take the Kree without being able to say it, right? He voiced the Kree without words, right? Now, at this point, what always happens around this covert, apparently, is that a huge flying creature shows up, a raptor. And it flies in, messes with the people of the covert, and snatches the boy that Grogu was just fighting in his talons and flies off. And heavy gunner Vizsla and Den and 2 other Mandos take off after this raptor. Like, don't follow him. We got to chase him back to his lair. Now, I don't know how long they were flying, but it seemed like a ways. And sure enough, soon they're running out of fuel and landing in their jetpacks. They do not have enough fuel to keep chasing this bird thing, right? That has this foundling in his clutches. Now, when all hope seems lost, Bo-Katan flies in her ship and continues to follow the creature, right? Later on, back at the covert, Bo-Katan returns. How the rest of them got back with no fuel in their jetpack is a wonder to me. But they get back and they find out that Bo-Katan has tracked the thing to its nest. This is where it is. And they can go get it to return or recover the foundling. They agree to go and what they'll need, and the armorer armors them up and sends them off on their way in Bo-Katan's ship to go after this raptor, to scale the peak where the creature is and rescue the foundling. Now, while they are gone, the armorer speaks to Grogu and tells Grogu there is much to be done, to be Mandalorian, and takes him back inside. And once we get inside, we see the armorer at her forge crafting something. And while she's crafting and using the power pile driver to pound the metal that she's working on, Grogu starts having twitches and shameful feelings. And what we get is a flashback of Grogu at the Jedi Temple when he is trying to escape the Purge. Now, this part is what we have seen before, right? That Grogu was at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant being saved during the Purge by four Jedis, and they were getting cut down. And what you see is an extended part of that scene where Grogu is being shepherded off into a not a turbo lift, into a lift to go to meet his contact who is going to get him away from the temple. He gets in the lift, the Jedi gets in with him and gets killed right as she gets into the lift with Grogu. The lift goes down and opens up, and the door opens up, and it is Jedi Knight Kellen Bach, played by Ahmed Best. He shows up, grabs Grogu, gets him to get on his speeder, and picks up the lightsaber of the Jedi that's dead at the floor and begins to defend Grogu with two lightsabers, deflecting blaster bolts from long distances and showing his skill. Now, this was kind of cool because I do not know of this character necessarily. It's also cool because it's another black Jedi, which you finally see another one. The other cool part about it is I recognized the brother when I saw him, but I couldn't remember his name at the time. And he is kind of a fixture around Lucas films. And Ahmed Best is best known for one of his roles that he played, not only for playing the role of the Jedi Master in the Star Wars kids game show that they had not too long ago. I can't remember what the name of it was, but kids were training like Padawans and stuff like that. And he was the host of that show. But he's also better known for his role as Jar Jar Binks in, the prequel series. He was Jar Jar Binks. He was the person in the suit for playing Jar Jar Binks. Now, so I like that they brought him in and let him, be in the shit, right? It's pretty cool. And his movements that he was using, I'm forgetting the form that he was using. I want to say it was like 3 or 2. I'm forgetting what it is. It's late and I'm tired. But he looked pretty cool what he was doing, and it shows him spiriting away Grogu in his cruiser trying to escape, the clones coming after him. Now, after a lengthy little chase, they end up at a platform where there is a Naboo cruiser there. And I don't know if he's a master or not. He's just, Anyway, Kellen is there and he's meeting some friends. And the friends are Naboo troopers. And once they sit down on the platform, the clones show up in their ships. And the Naboo team gives the Jedi the ship. He gets on the ship with Grogu and escapes Coruscant. Now, once they're in hyperspace, Grogu emerges from his memory, right? Emerges from his vision that he's having of his memory. And you see him getting away from Coruscant and in hyperspace. What happens after that, you don't know, to be continued, right? But you get him back in the room with the armorer and find out that the armorer is telling Grogu about being a Mandalorian and what will happen. And you see what the armorer was making. I thought she was making him a helmet, and I thought it was so cute because the little kid that he was sparring with said, "Look, he doesn't have a helmet. What the heck? He doesn't even have a helmet." And I'm like, so when the armorer took him back inside and working on the forge, I'm thinking, oh, she's gonna make him a helmet. Awesome, that'd be cool. I want to see how it works with his little ears hanging out the side. But that's not what happens. What she reveals is like a breastplate, right? Small circular breastplate with the sigil of their clan. the mud horn on it. And she gives it to Grogu, and she puts it inside his little beanbag and puts it on his chainmail, which I forgot that he had. I forgot that he had some Beskar chainmail underneath his little sack, right? So now he has an Iron Man arc reactor. He has a little symbol on his chest, covering his chest, and that he will grow into it when he gets older. I'm like, that's gonna take like 200 years, ain't it? Like, Jesus, Yoda didn't get that tall. What makes you think this kid is getting any bigger? Anyway, it's covering up his whole chest, and I'm like, well, he'll be protected. No lightsabers getting through there. Like that big round, Flavor Flav clock. And his Beskar chainmail. He good. Ain't nothing getting. He not catching a bolt. The only thing he gonna catch where he would catch a bolt is in the ears. That's it. Everything else is the rest of his vitals is pretty covered. Okay, so he got a little piece of armor. The second piece of armor, not a helmet, but a second piece of armor. Not that big of a deal, right? Now we flip back to Bo-Katan and her hunting party, going after this what they're calling a raptor to rescue this family. They get back to the peak and they decide that they're going to camp for the night. And at first light, they're going to scale the peak so that the creature doesn't hear them approaching with their jetpacks. Now, once they sit down and make camp, they sit down to eat, and Bo-Katan asks Din, how do you eat when you're with people? And Din tells her, you, excuse me, after you get your food, you go off and find your own place to sit, and then you eat your food. And what ends up happening when Bo-Katan gets up to go off and eat her food separately, Vizsla tells her that as the leader of the war party, she gets to stay by the fire. Everybody else has gone off into the darkness privately to eat their food. Now, to me, this seems kind of silly. Since they're all part of the same covert, I don't think it would matter if they saw each other's faces. But be that as it may, Bo-Katan stays by the fire, and once everybody is out of sight, she is able to take off her helmet for the first time. She's taking off her helmet, and she's eating her food. And you can see on her face a little bit what it feels like to her. It's like a little bit of loneliness. It's like this way is pretty solitary when it comes time to take off that helmet. Because you got to wash. You got to wash your face and stuff. But even eating your meals will mean you are never eating your meals with the people in front of you. Now, why you can't just slide food under your mask and eat sitting around the fire with everybody else, I don't know. But this is the story. They go off separately and sit in the dark alone and eat their food like they're in solitary confinement. Now, by first light, they're climbing up this peak and using their rappelling or the grappling hooks to go ahead and climb up this peak. This looked like some hard shit to me because, one, those grappling hooks, ropes, lines are not very thick, and they got on gloves. If you ever used a really thin cable or rope with gloves on, that's nothing you want to be climbing up with a bunch of weight like you Batman. It doesn't work, okay? The other thing is they got a lot of gear on, and their boots are not made for climbing. If you know anything about climbing, rock faces and stuff like that, the shoes you wear are usually really narrow. So you can actually put your toes or stuff in small crevices and cracks on the rock and climb up. They got these big ass, work boots on. So that part is bothering me a little bit because, it's not believable. You're not climbing up no peak with them damn boots on, especially not with these heavy ass jetpacks and heavy machine gun. Not on that line. Forget that shit. Now, this part of it did remind me of G.I. Joe a little bit. And as soon as I saw one of the Mandalorians, shoot his grappling hook and then swing off the wall over to the other side, I'm like, really? Okay, whatever. Let's just move on. Now, by the time they get to the top, Vizsla is a bit tired, and he should be because he's the biggest guy carrying the biggest gun with the most armor on. He's kind of wheezing under there, which I understand. When they get to the top of the peak, there is a nest up there, and there is a Mandalorian helmet there from some other unlucky Mandalorian that got snatched by this creature and eaten. Why they still haven't killed this creature beforehand? Because this did happen before. I don't know. It seems like a dangerous planet. I think they should make a bigger foothold so they don't keep getting surprised every time I show up to watch the episode by some creature that they didn't know was showing up. Now, Din uses his infrared and finds that there is a heat signature on the other side of the nest, and Vizsla jumps in there without waiting for everybody else to run across there and find it. Now, while Bo-Katan is telling him to come back, wait for everyone else, he runs in there. And sure enough, what I'm thinking is that he didn't say what kind of heat signature it was, and Viz screaming out the boy's name as he tells Din, "He's my son." Shocker. He pulls apart some more of the nest, and a baby raptor comes out and tries to nip at him, which is what I'm thinking the whole time. As soon as I saw a nest, it's like babies. Some babies in this motherfucker. Apparently now there's creatures in here. And the mama shows up while the little babies are nipping at Vizsla. The mama shows up with the boy. Now Vizsla hides under some of the brush, and the mother comes up and regurgitates out the little foundling boy. Now, how the foundling boy survived in this creature's stomach all night, or the creature itself held him in her stomach the whole night, is a wonder to me. But then again, Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit. He was in there for a minute, like for real. So I don't know. I don't know how it happened. It just happened. Something questionable. The bird spits out the boy and wants to feed it to the babies, and that's when the rest of the Mandalorians spring into action, scaring said raptor away to where, once again, it's off and flying, and they're off with jetpacks to chase the thing. Now, hopefully, they have enough fuel to chase this thing, but he's off and going now. And you get into a real aerial ballet with these Mandalorians trying to take down this creature with their, grappling lines and stuff like that. Now, at one point in the fight, Bo-Katan gets hit. Jetpack goes off. She falls a couple 100 feet, loses a piece of her armor, but regains control from the flat dive, and then goes back after the raptor. At another point, Vizsla gets thrown out of the creature's mouth because it grabbed him before she tried to fly away. Throws him down. His jetpack barely catches him, and he kind of smashes into a rock formation. But thankfully, Din is there to actually put some well-meaning and well-needed shots onto this creature like the other Mandalorians that are there, to tie up his wings and hurt it so it actually lets go of the foundling, and Din is able to rescue him while the creature falls to its death. Now, when the creature falls, not to its death, but into the water, and it has all this cable and stuff wrapped up around his wings, I'm thinking, what about the babies? What about the babies? The first thing I'm thinking of. And sure enough, in Dune fashion, the raptor gets eaten by the turtle croc creature that's in the water. It heard that splash down and came and ate that motherfucker right there. And I'm thinking about, damn, fuck your kids, right? What about the babies? Now, in the next scene, you get Armor and Grogu coming out the covert, and Bo-Katan's ship coming back. and them coming back. And the first people off the ship are Vizsla and his son, Ragnar Vizsla, and being applauded and championed by the rest of the covert that he came back alive. And when Bo Katan comes off her ship and comes up to the armorer tells her she has achieved one of the greatest honors in the Creed because she saved a foundling. And Bo Katan replies that yes, and hopefully you find a place for these other three foundlings. And sure enough, two Mandalorians drag off her ship the three raptor babies. And the first thing I think of is Game of Thrones. Like everybody need to have some flying freaking creatures now. Okay, so three baby dragons, some hairless, bug-eyed fucking birds, whatever, man. I'm thinking this is not the way the covert works. You just can't bring any goddamn species here and say they foundlings. Okay, that'd be silly. Okay, that would seem really silly to me. But apparently now these three raptor birds are part of the covert too. Will they get armor? Will it look like House of the Dragon or something like that? I don't fucking know. That just seemed kind of silly to me. But the armorer tells Bo-Katan to come inside because she sees that she is in need of repair because she lost the pauldron. Now, once inside of the covert, the armorer makes Bo-Katan a new pauldron. And during that, they are talking about she cannot make her one of the same model or tech that she lost, but she will make her a new one. And what would she like on it? And Bo-Katan asks about, instead of having the crest of the night owl on the pauldron, could she have the mythosaur on it? And the armorer refers to her as yes, is that the mythosaur is for everyone. It's for all Mandalorians. It's a great honor. It's one of these little sacred creatures. So the armorer makes Bo-Katan a new pauldron with the crest of the mythosaur on it. And Bo-Katan starts to reveal while this is being made to the armorer that she has seen a mythosaur in the living waters on Mandalore. Now, initially, the armorer thinks she's talking in metaphor or she was having a dream. And Bo-Katan tells her, no, for real, I really saw it. And the armorer just said, this is the way. Like, she's unfazed by this, or yeah, I knew it all the time. Now, that kind of bothered me a little bit. But once she gives Bo-Katan the new pauldron and she puts it on, it's kind of setting in my mind that, just like I said initially when she saw it, that Bo-Katan is probably going to ride that mythosaur. Because if you look at what's happening in this episode, you got three more mounts. You got three more mounts outside of the mythosaur that somebody's going to have to ride to follow the path of the Mandalore. Somebody's got to ride it. I'm thinking it's going to be Bo-Katan. Boba already got his Rancor to ride. Somebody going to have to ride these other three little creatures when they get old enough. Everybody got mounts. So that's what I'm seeing happening in this episode. That episode ends that way on Bo-Katan with the armorer, telling the armorer about the mythosaur, that she saw one alive. Now, this is bothering me in a sense because this is another one of these girl boss episodes where anybody who's in charge is only a female and all the dudes there, even the biggest one, is just a lackey of them. The fact that Bo-Katan confided this in the armorer and did not tell Din bothers me because she has no connection with the armorer outside of what she just met maybe a day ago, 2 days ago. Not connected like that. So her confiding in the armorer and not confiding in Din is a bit of an issue for me. But it does set up a little bit of angst between her and Den, because while she may have seen a mythosaur and may have a design and a plan on riding that mythosaur, Den still has the dark saber. He still does. And at least by her code in the night owls and stuff, like she told him, all he got to do is fire it up and go waving it around, and they'll follow him anywhere. She needs something to trump that, especially if she want to be in charge. Since I don't think she want to have to kill Den to take it from her. So that's how the episode ends, and I was happy with this episode. There was enough in it that was new that intrigued me. Like I want to look up Kellenor Bach and Ahmed Best and see what I can find on the Wikipedia about that character, because I don't know anything about that character, and maybe they just made him up for the show. Maybe he's already existed. I don't freaking know, and that's what I want to find out. Other thing is, I like that I got an episode with all the Mandalorians and that things are progressing in a direction. I like the way Katie Sackhoff looked in her costume. Katie got ass, dude. I'm sorry to tell you. She got ass in that costume. And they think they slick by just showing it every once in a while. Like, she's looking nice in that Mandalorian costume. I hope she get a cop and get to keep one of those. As far as I know, she's single. So, other than that, I thought it was a good episode. I didn't agree with Grogu using his powers in front of everybody and then kind of forcing him to get in there and fight. That seemed a little bit too much for me, but I know Din really wants Grogu to be a Mandalorian like him and start teaching him the ways. And so I think he's just going to be forcing it too much, and Grogu is going to end up going away from him because of that. That's my thinking, but I'm still here watching it. I'm still here enjoying it, so it'll be what it will be. But that is my review of The Mandalorian Episode 4. Like, share, subscribe, support this stream if you feel so inclined, and I will see you next time. Because I got an episode of The Bad Batch to watch. Peace, y'all.